And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded, and we will put this recording on the BC Renal YouTube channel later on. I would also like to let you know that the Q&A is enabled and the chat is enabled. So if you would like to comment on anything or have a question for our presenter, feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A space. And today's webinar is on tips for nutrition guidance that you can provide to your kidney patients. It will be delivered by Dani Renouf. Dani is a registered dietitian with over 20 years of experience working with patients and clients in chronic kidney disease prevention and management. And this includes positions with the hospital sector, the private industry, community and public health and research settings. Currently, Dani works as the provincial dietitian lead for BC Renal and is the Renal Resource Dietitian at St. Paul's Hospital in Vancouver. She's also the chair of the BC Renal's Dietitians Committee, and she runs her own private practice for Elements Nutrition Consulting. So with this, Dani, over to you.
Thank you so much, Yuri, and thank you everyone for joining on this beautiful sunny afternoon on your lunch break. I hope that today's session will really hone in on our nutrition supplement policy and the nutrition supplements orders that you might see coming through your pharmacy. And I welcome your questions throughout, as Yuri mentioned. So today I'll go through our overview of the program. What does eligibility mean, and how do we determine who's eligible for ordering supplements, why we choose the nutrition supplements that we choose, what are some sort of side effects or barriers that might come to you as a community pharmacy from patients directly, and how you can loop back to us for further consultation. So our nutrition supplement policy is posted on the BC Renal website, and you're welcome to follow the link I've posted here on the bottom to look into it in more detail. However, I just want to highlight that as dietitians, we're the sole prescribers of nutrition supplements that you might see coming in to your order system. So no other provider is eligible to enter the orders except for us. And that's because we see the patient face to face, and we will do a detailed physical assessment to ensure that the patient meets the eligibility criteria for supplements, which is a significant weight loss of 5% or more weight in 6 months, suboptimal intake or inadequate intake of nutrients. And then we look at other physical signs of functional capacity, for example, and muscle mass status in our in-person visits. And we complete the subjective global assessment, which is a scale that we use to put into some degree of metric why the person may need a supplement. And that actually determines our a decision on which supplements we would provide. So we're very fortunate to have our formulary, the Nepro and the Suplena product, both of which are for patients who have issues with hyperkalemia or high potassium. And the first one, the Nepro, is for someone who's more severely malnourished, who has had a higher degree of muscle mass loss. It's a higher protein product, and it's also fluid restricted, so really good for our dialysis patients. And the Suplena product will be lower in protein, so it keeps in consideration that some folks are pre-dialysis and may need a slight modification in their protein recommendation. However, it's lower in potassium, so it's a really good choice for people maybe with advanced kidney disease but not on dialysis. We may use Suplena and Nepro with non-dialysis populations or post-transplant populations as well if we want to take care of their potassium. Another product that we lean on quite heavily is Benoprotein, which is a protein isolate powder that is prescribed currently through our central pharmacy, McDonald's. And that product is also something we would use across modalities if we just want to boost protein intake for a particular patient. And quite often in dialysis populations, we have folks who need extra protein, but may not need the extra calories. And then, of course, we have the Ensure and Glucerna line of products that we can choose from. And those are really more of our kind of generic and low sugar options for folks with diabetes when it comes to Glucerna. And we have different flavors available. So we're really fortunate, again, to be able to meet patient taste choices and preferences as best as possible. We have other formulas on our formulary. I just thought I would highlight these, but we have different types of Glucerna and Ensure as well that are higher in protein for folks that need the extra protein. So here are some of the issues that we do see with the nutrition supplements from time to time. Patients may have intolerance issues, so they may have tolerated the samples, which we provide to them, but then when they start taking a product more regularly, they do notice, more bloating, abdominal discomfort, diarrhea, and various issues with digestion. And that may not always get fed back to us. They may not always contact us to let us know. And when we contact them, that's something they may not disclose to us at that phone visit. But they may come to the pharmacy for something else and let you know. So that's an important consideration. And we may need to change the formula or just try a different route if none of the formulas are tolerated. Taste issues, taste preferences might change, and a patient may want a different formula. They may call you to tell you that, but it needs to, again, be sent to us as a message so that we can adjust our prescription. Sometimes the formula is ordered by us and the pharmacy brings it in, but the patient doesn't answer their phone or they don't come to pick up the order. And so that's also really important to get fed back to us so that we can follow up with the patient and cancel that order so that we're not, we're not missing something. And if we don't know about those missed orders, we assume the patient is receiving and taking the formula. So it will impact our clinical practice for sure. And so knowing will really help us out a lot. I often come across cases where patients are calling the pharmacy and asking for more frequent refills than what is prescribed in their dosage for various reasons. And again, we need to know about that rather than just filling the order. It would be really important for us to know why the person needs to use, 2 or 3 of a product when the prescription's only for 1. And just also important to note is that we conduct regular check-ins with patients. We don't renew orders unless we have done a reassessment of their nutrition status to ensure that they're on the proper formula, that they're getting the proper dosage, and that they're tolerating the product. So as I mentioned, it would be really valuable to hear from you. You can email us directly, that's no problem, or just give us a quick phone call that there might be some issues with intolerance the patient has shared with you. There are issues with refills, the patient doesn't phone back, or the patient hasn't come to pick it up, or the formula is on back order and you need to, come up with a different option for the patient. All of these would be really, really great feedback loops, and that will really help us be more efficient with our ordering processes and kind of have a heads up for that patient to know. And oftentimes patients ask nutrition questions of people who aren't their primary nutrition care professionals. So if you're ever in that situation where a patient has lots of nutrition questions and they're part of our program, please do reach out and we can connect them with their clinic dietitian for further follow-up. We do often lose people to follow up, because we serve over 2,000 patients. And so when we try calling a patient a few times and don't hear back, we often may not see them till they come in for their next clinic visit. So it would be really good to have support around that for sure for continuity of care. So that's kind of how I wanted to start off. And I guess I wanted to say if any of your patients have questions about food, a great sort of starting point is this healthy plate. This can probably meet everyone and anyone's nutrition needs if they just follow the healthy plate. If they're living with kidney disease, heart disease, diabetes, any kind of chronic health condition, these are great. This is a great visual to have, and you can get copies through Canada's Food Guide if you wish. We also have handouts on the BC Renal website diet page, so I really encourage you to check out our website as well, and you can direct patients to our BC Renal diet page as well for information that they might be looking for. Great, so that's kind of how all I had prepared, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have or discuss anything that's important and relevant to you.
We do have some time for questions, and let me just mention that we also have several videos on nutrition and food preparation on the BC Renal YouTube channel, and that's where this video will also be hosted, but in a different section, so feel free to share those with your patients. Those are some of the most popular resources on the BC Renal YouTube, in fact. Thank you so much, Dani. Any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat or in Q&A, or raise your hand if you would like to speak. Here is a question. You mentioned dangers with chronic use with these supplements. What typically should we be looking for?
Yeah, so that's a really, really great question. So the chronic overuse, these are highly processed products. They do contain additives and vitamins that may not be appropriate as someone advances in their kidney disease. So something like an Ensure Plus might be all right for a patient who has pretty good filtration still. But as they advance in their kidney disease, we really do have to make sure that their electrolyte balance is appropriate. And so if potassium and phosphate are creeping up, we might try to switch their formula to something that's more kidney friendly, like the Suplena or Nepro, or even try, a recipe that's home based for a smoothie or something like that, that's got the right mix for them. Protein content, again, in some of the formulas is really high. So if people are taking, the Nepro, like it's got quite a bit of protein. If they're taking 2 or 3 Nepro a day, we really need to make sure we assess them, because that's a protein overload. And why are they taking, basically all their nutrition in the form of a formula? And the vitamin concentrations in some of our formulas are higher. And so that's why we prescribe like 1 dose per day, because we don't want people to overshoot their micronutrient intakes either. So that's a really, really good question. But the formulas aren't just benign. They're not really a food and they're not really a drug. They sort of land in between. Same with our protein powder. I mean, it's a low concentrated protein powder, but anything can be overdone. And people tend to overuse supplements, I find, especially when they're sent to them in these shipment sizes, and they forget how much they're supposed to take. So they feel like more is better. And so, yeah, so that's kind of why we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect with them and just provide clarity and clarification. Yeah.
Thank you, Dani.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Any comments from anyone? Let me just also remind you that if you're, here's a couple of notes. Can slides be available for those who could not attend today's session? Yes, for sure. We can make the slides available to this group by sending them out to those who registered for the webinar. But also, again, this webinar will be it's being recorded, and the recording will be put on the BC Renal website. But yes, and a question from Andrew, is there a role for incorporating the DASH diet for kidney patients? I know it is usually for hypertension, but should there be concerns about their sodium intake?
That is a Fantastic question. I have a whole slide presentation on that, which I'm happy to, tap into for future webinars with this group. But absolutely, the DASH diet is one of the most evidence-based diets, not just for hypertension, but also for other chronic diseases, including kidney disease and diabetes. And so it's basically what we teach in our clinic setting. It's very difficult to teach something like a dietary pattern without having like unique individual preferences, cultural considerations, social considerations in mind. But so what we try to do is to set goals with patients that feel good for them, feel safe for them. So we do a lot of goal setting. And we basically try to get folks as close as possible to eating the way that the DASH dietary pattern shows. And as you can see in this plate visual, the food guide basically has, sort of implemented the DASH diet way of eating too. And so you can see there's a lot of plant-based proteins on this plate, as well as just plants in general, which is what the DASH diet endorses. We encourage people to cook more at home. So as Yuri mentioned, our website, the BC Renal diet page, as well as the Kidney Wellness Hub through the Kidney Foundation or the Kidney Community Kitchen, those are all great resources for patients that basically put into reality the DASH way of eating through recipes and I hope engaging cooking videos and clips. So that's definitely a space where you can send your patients to either the Kidney Wellness Hub through the Kidney Foundation or the Kidney Community Kitchen or the BC Renal diet page. And we're just reworking a handout that is going to be basically promoting the DASH diet as well. So stay tuned for that handout that we're working on to post on the BC Renal website in the coming few months. I hope that answers your question. It's a really good question. I love talking about this dietary pattern and there's so much we can do with it. So yeah, the DASH diet page as well online. There's a really good sample menu ideas and things like that. So yes, you can definitely endorse the DASH diet with your patients. And the whole potassium question comes up with this type of eating. And I just want to reiterate that potassium from these foods, because they're so high in fiber, is not as available and actually increases the stool bulk and output. So it's much easier to eliminate or remove potassium from the body as opposed to trying to follow a lower potassium diet by milligram, which isn't really as accurate anymore and can actually result in not meeting the DASH guidelines. Yeah.
Thank you, Dani. Are there any other questions or comments? So here's another question from Winnie. You talked about micronutrients in these supplements. Are there any we should be careful with identifying when patients want additional supplements when they are looking at natural health products?
Yeah, so some biggies are definitely like vitamin A. That's an important consideration in folks who are on blood thinners like warfarin, like vitamin K from supplements is another one that I would be really careful with. I would also say like electrolytes such as potassium, the minerals potassium, electrolyte beverages, electrolyte powders can be quite high in potassium, and the source of potassium in a lot of supplements is the chemical form of potassium. So it's 100% absorbable, up to 100% absorbable. So I would be careful with that. And a lot of supplements have hidden sodium. So they're actually a sodium load. As we know, many medications pose a sodium load already for our patients. And so electrolyte mixes and that are often quite high in sodium. Many supplements are very, very high in simple sugars, so they can really spike people's sugars if they're living with diabetes. That's why Ensure Plus is not really as suitable, or even Suplena can be tricky for folks living with diabetes, and we may need to go to a diabetes-friendly option like the Glucerna. So if they're on supplements, but generally speaking, we only have about 9% of our patient population on supplements in the pre-dialysis group. It does go up to about 40% in the dialysis group. So I work in the pre-dialysis world. I would say there, a lot of people are pretty well coming to a pharmacy and potentially buying a lot of things over the counter. Another product would be protein powders. They're definitely varied and not created equal, and can be a huge protein load for patients. So recommending protein powders and that they may get, from their community. It's another sort of, could be potentially challenging on their kidneys if it's a huge protein load. So those are some of the things that come to mind. Whether it's a fiber supplement that they want to take, they need to have, folks need to have like good guidance, because it's very confusing. And even something like a simple fiber supplement, I've had calls where people are like, it's backfiring, it's not working, and it's a matter of like, oh, I didn't realize I needed to drink more fluids with the product. A lot of people don't really know how to use some of the products that are supposed to be helpful. Yeah. So those are some of the things that have come across our desk, but I'm sure you have some of your own examples that you can think of where people have come in and wanted to try supplements and may not know how to use them suitably.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the group? All right, thank you so much. If you haven't had an opportunity to ask a question now, you're welcome to get in touch with us on our generic email, which is pharmacyservices@bcrenal.ca. Pharmacy services is one word. And we will triage that question to the appropriate team, the appropriate person. So please feel free to reach out on anything pharmacy related that may interest you. And thank you so much for joining us today. This recording will be on the BC Renal website, on the BC Renal YouTube channel, from which, and there is a link to that on the website as well. And please join our upcoming webinars as well. You will be receiving that information in our usual email updates. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.